The space station floated in silence, orbiting the dying planet below. Its lights flickered in and out like a heart struggling to keep beating. Most of the crew had left months ago, but one human stayed behind. Ethan Cole, a repair engineer with tired eyes and a quiet soul. He wasn't supposed to still be there. The war between humans and the Varrock species had ended, but hatred and fear were still alive. Ethan's orders were simple: keep the power running until the evacuation ships returned. Yet deep inside he knew there was more keeping him here, something he couldn't explain. Every evening when the twin suns faded behind the red clouds, he walked down the lower corridor to a hidden storage bay. No one else went there anymore. The air smelled of old metal and burnt wires, but for Ethan, it had become a place of life, because that was where they were. A tall, fragile alien woman with pale blue skin and glowing eyes sat against the wall. Beside her, wrapped in a blanket, was a small child with the same luminous eyes. The mother's breathing was weak. Her lungs weren't built for the thin, human-made air. The child's heartbeat was faint, sometimes stopping for seconds before starting again. Ethan had found them 3 weeks ago. He was checking a broken oxygen pipe when he heard a faint sound, like crying. He followed it through the vents, and there they were, a wounded Varrock's mother and her child hiding behind empty crates, too weak to escape. They had survived the bombing of their homeworld and somehow made it aboard the station in a smuggler's ship that crashed on arrival. At first, Ethan froze. He had lost friends in the war. His brother's ship was destroyed by the Varrock's fleet. Seeing those glowing eyes again made his heart twist with anger. But then the child coughed, a small, painful sound, and everything inside him changed. He couldn't leave them. So he brought food. Then blankets. Then medicine. He modified an oxygen filter to help the mother breathe better. He didn't tell command. If anyone found out, they'd call him a traitor. But Ethan didn't care anymore. Each day became a routine. He would work on repairs in the morning, send fake reports to command in the afternoon, and then at night visit the alien mother and child. He learned their names, and the mother was Sira and the child was Luma. Sira could barely speak English, but she always tried. "Ethan, thank you," she said one night, her voice weak. "You saved my little one." Ethan just smiled. "You'd do the same," he replied. But deep down he wasn't sure. Humans and Varrocks had never shown mercy to each other before. Days turned into weeks. Luma began to trust him. She laughed softly when he tried to fix her broken toy, a small crystal sphere that glowed when she touched it. Sometimes she drew strange symbols on the wall, glowing with faint blue light. Ethan didn't understand them, but they felt live. One night, as he watched her sleep beside her mother, Ethan whispered, "Maybe peace isn't made by governments. Maybe it's made like this." But peace never lasted long. A warning alarm broke the quiet. The communication panel flickered, showing an incoming message from Central Command. A patrol ship was approaching the station, earlier than expected. Ethan's heart pounded. If they scanned the station and found the Varrocks, they would execute all of them, including him. He ran to the storage bay. Sira looked up, sensing the fear in his face. "What happened?" she asked. "Inspection," Ethan said quickly. "They'll be here in 30 minutes. Sira tried to stand, but her legs trembled. "We hide?" Ethan nodded, scanning the room. There was nowhere safe. The sensors would detect their heat signatures instantly. Then his eyes fell on the maintenance ducts, narrow, dark tunnels that ran through the station's core. "Follow me," he said, pulling open the vent cover. "Stay quiet no matter what." He guided them through the tunnels, crawling on hands and knees, the hum of engines echoing around them. The child clung to her mother, silent tears in her eyes. Ethan could feel his heart breaking. He had saved them once, but this time he might lose everything. They reached the medical bay, the one place scanners rarely checked. Ethan sealed the vent behind them and activated a false heat signature generator to hide their presence. Then he gave Sira a small device. "Breathe through this," he said. "It'll help your lungs." She took his hand, her glowing eyes trembling. "Why'd you help us?" Ethan hesitated. He didn't have an answer that made sense. Finally, he said, "Because I'm tired of watching everyone die." Outside, the ship docked. Metal clanged. Human voices echoed through the corridors. The inspection team was here. Ethan turned off the lights and whispered, "Stay here. Don't make a sound." As he stepped out to face the officers, he didn't know that this night The night he chose to protect them would change everything. It would test his loyalty, his humanity, and the meaning of family itself. And far below, in the darkness of the planet's shadow, something ancient was awakening, something that would soon make the word family mean more than he ever imagined. The sound of metal boots echoed through the empty halls of the station. Ethan's breath came slow and careful. His palms were sweaty, but his face stayed calm. He had done everything he could to hide Sierra and Luma, but one mistake could destroy everything. The inspection team was led by Commander Hasker, a tall man with sharp eyes and a colder heart. He was known for his loyalty to human command and his hatred for anything alien. Ethan knew him from before the war ended. Once they had served on the same ship, but that was long ago, before the battles and before the deaths that turned men into machines. Engineer Cole, Hasker said as he stepped into the control deck. Still keeping this wreck alive, I see. Ethan forced a small smile. Someone has to, sir. The system's old but stable, just needs a little care. Hasker looked around, his eyes scanning every corner. Command received strange readings from this station. Heat signatures. Life signs that shouldn't be here. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He kept his voice even. Probably old equipment warming up. The vents leak power sometimes. Hasker didn't look convinced. He motioned to his soldiers. Search every level. If you find anything non-human, report immediately. The soldiers scattered. Ethan stood still, his hands behind his back. He tried to look calm, but inside, panic grew like a storm. Sierra and Luma were hidden in the medical bay, but scanners could still catch them if Hasker ordered a full sweep. As the soldiers moved down the corridor, Ethan began typing on his control panel, pretending to run system checks. In reality, he was rerouting the station's heat sensors, sending false readings to cover the medical bay. It was risky. If Hasker noticed, he'd be arrested instantly. Minutes passed like hours. The hum of the engines filled the silence. Ethan could feel sweat rolling down his neck. Then one of the soldiers spoke through the comms. Commander, we found something. Ethan froze. Hasker's eyes narrowed. Where? Storage Bay 4, sir. A life support system was recently modified. It's not in the report. Hasker turned toward Ethan. Care to explain that? Ethan's mind raced. He needed a story fast. I repaired that unit last week, he said. It was leaking pressure. I added a filter to stabilize it. You can check the log. Hasker walked closer, his boots clicking on the floor. You're lying. You always were a terrible liar. Before Ethan could reply, the lights flickered and then dimmed completely. The room plunged into darkness. A low alarm began to wail. Red emergency lights flashed on the walls. Hasker shouted, "What's going on?" Ethan quickly checked the console. Power surge in the lower levels, he said. Probably from your patrol ship docking too hard. I'll fix it, but it wasn't the ship. He recognized that signal. It was coming from the medical bay, Sierra. She must have moved. Maybe she tried to adjust the oxygen device or protect her child. The machine's power draw triggered the alarm. Ethan's pulse raced. If they check that signal, he thought, they'll find them. He needed to act fast. Commander, Ethan said suddenly, if the surge spreads, the whole power grid could collapse. We'll lose oxygen within minutes. I need to go down there now. Hasker hesitated, then nodded. Take 2 men with you. Ethan forced a calm nod. Yes, sir. He grabbed a toolkit and headed for the lower decks, 2 soldiers following close behind. His mind worked desperately. He had to reach Sierra first. When they reached the lower corridor, the air smelled of burnt wires and dust. The emergency lights painted everything red. Ethan led the soldiers toward the power junction, pretending to check the systems. Looks like the main conduit overloaded, he said. I'll need to isolate it manually. You might want to stay back. Radiation's unstable. The soldiers looked uneasy. One of them said, We'll wait here. Ethan nodded, hiding his relief. Good idea. He slipped around the corner, heart pounding, and opened a maintenance hatch leading to the medical bay. Inside, Sierra was kneeling beside a flickering console. Luma was coughing softly. The oxygen filter had failed. Ethan rushed forward. Sierra, what are you doing? They're searching the station. Her eyes glowed weakly. Luma. Can't breathe. Ethan grabbed his toolkit, rewired the device, and powered it up again. A soft hum filled the air. Luma's breathing steadied, but then came the sound of boots. The soldiers had followed. Cole, one of them shouted. What's taking so long? Ethan looked at Sierra. There was no time. He whispered, hide behind the med pods. Don't move. He stepped out, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Almost done. He called back. But as he turned, he saw the soldier's flashlight sweep across the room and stop. It had caught a glimpse of blue skin behind the pod. The soldier's eyes widened. Sir, there's someone here. Ethan's blood turned cold. He moved fast, grabbing the soldier's wrist. Wait, he shouted. But the man pulled free, raising his blaster. A bright flash exploded. The beam hit the wall inches from Sierra's head. Luma screamed. The echo filled the entire bay. Ethan lunged forward, slamming the soldier into the wall. Don't shoot, he yelled. The soldier struggled, shouting into his comm. Commander. Hostile contact! Alien. Ethan silenced him with a punch that knocked the device from his hand. Breathing hard, Ethan turned to Sierra. We have to go, now. She stared at him with wide, fearful eyes. They kill you, Ethan gave a small, broken smile. Maybe. But not before I get you out of here. He grabbed the emergency access key from the wall and led them toward the cargo lift. Sirens were already blaring across the station. Commander Hasker's voice thundered through the comm system. Engineer Cole, you are under arrest for harboring enemy life forms. Surrender immediately! Ethan didn't stop. The lift doors closed just as armed soldiers reached the hall. As they rose toward the docking bay, Ethan looked at the alien child clinging to her mother, and for the first time, he realized something terrifying. He wasn't just protecting them anymore, he was fighting for them. The cargo lift shook as it climbed upward, creaking like an old iron cage. The red warning lights blinked above their heads and the alarm echoed through every level of the station. Ethan's heart pounded with every second. Sierra clutched her child tightly. Luma's glowing eyes flickered, reflecting the flashing lights. The little one was terrified, trembling but silent, almost as if she understood that one sound could end them all. Ethan's hands hovered over the control panel. He knew this wasn't going to be easy. Commander Hasker had locked the station down. There was no way off without triggering the defense systems. Where are we going? Sierra asked softly, her voice weak but calm. Ethan glanced at her. Maintenance deck near the old escape pods, he said. Most of them don't work, but I can fix one. Can you? She asked. He gave a small grin. I'm an engineer. Fixing broken things is all I know. But inside he wasn't sure. The pods were ancient, half of them disabled after the war. Even if he got one working, getting past the patrol ship outside would be nearly impossible. Still, he couldn't stop now. The lift jolted to a stop. The doors hissed open. Ethan peeked out. The corridor was dim and quiet, lined with shadows and leaking pipes. The air smelled of rust and coolant. It was the underbelly of the station, a place no one came to anymore. Stay close, he whispered. They moved quickly, their footsteps silent on the metal floor. Sierra limped slightly, her body weak from days of illness, but she kept moving for her child. Luma held Ethan's hand, her tiny fingers warm and trembling. Every few steps, Ethan stopped to listen. The hum of machines mixed with distant echoes of soldiers searching nearby. Hasker's voice still boomed through the comm speakers. Ethan Cole, you have violated Galactic Law 7C. Hand over the Varix fugitives immediately and you will live. Ethan whispered to himself. They're not fugitives. They're people. They reached the maintenance hatch to the escape bay. Ethan knelt, pried open the access panel, and began to work. Sparks flickered as he crossed two wires overriding the security lock. Sierra knelt beside him, watching silently. You risk life. For us, she said quietly. He didn't look up. You risked yours to save your child. We're the same. Her glowing eyes softened, full of something he hadn't seen from anyone since the war. Trust. Finally, the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, rows of small pod chambers lined the walls, most covered in dust and cobwebs. Only one still had a faint power light glowing. Ethan ran toward it, checking the control screen. Still functional, he muttered. Needs manual launch, though. He turned to Sierra. Once I set the sequence, you and Luma will launch toward the nearest moon. There's a small medical outpost there. They'll help you. Sierra looked confused. And you? Ethan hesitated. I'll stay. Someone has to trigger the launch from here. Her eyes widened. No, you come too. I can't. The system requires a manual override. If I leave, the pod won't detach. Sierra shook her head. You save us. We save you. Before Ethan could answer, the corridor lights flickered again, followed by the heavy sound of footsteps. They found us, he whispered. He quickly guided them into the pod. Go inside now. Sierra held his hand for a moment. You are good human, she said softly. Ethan smiled weakly, maybe just a stubborn one. He sealed the pod door and turned back to the control terminal. His fingers flew over the keys, starting the manual sequence. The countdown began. 30 seconds to launch. Then the door behind him burst open. Commander Hasker stepped in, flanked by 2 armed soldiers. His cold eyes locked on Ethan. Step away from the controls, Cole. Ethan raised his hands slowly. They're innocent, Hasker. You don't have to do this. Innocent? Hasker barked. Their kind killed millions of humans. You think I'll let them escape justice? Ethan's voice hardened. Justice isn't murder, Hasker sneered. You've gone soft. Always were weak, Cole. The war ended, but you never learned who the enemy was. Behind the glass, Luma pressed her small hand against the pod window, watching them. Her glowing eyes filled with tears. Hasker noticed and raised his blaster. Step aside. Ethan's jaw clenched. No. Move, or I'll shoot you where you stand. The countdown reached 10 seconds. Ethan made his choice. He slammed the emergency override button. The pod's hatch sealed fully. Red lights flared. Manual launch engaged, the computer announced. Hasker fired. The beam grazed Ethan's arm, burning through his sleeve. Pain shot through him, but he didn't stop. He reached for the lever and yanked it down. The floor shook. The pod's thrusters ignited with a roar. No! Hasker shouted, rushing forward. The escape pod blasted away, streaking out into the darkness of space. Through the viewing glass, Ethan saw Sierra holding Luma tight as they disappeared into the stars. He exhaled shakily, relief mixed with pain. Hasker grabbed him by the collar, fury burning in his eyes. You just doomed yourself, Cole. You'll face the tribunal for this. Ethan looked at him, calm now. Maybe, but at least I did one right thing. Hasker raised his weapon again. You think this is over? But before he could fire, the station trembled violently. The lights went dark. Commander, one soldier shouted. Something's happening in the core. Massive energy surge. Ethan's eyes widened. That wasn't part of his system. The energy signature. It was coming from outside, from the direction where the pod had gone. The scanners flickered to life, displaying strange readings. Blue waves of light pulsed through space, bending signals, distorting radar. What is that? Hasker demanded. Ethan stared at the monitor, his heart racing. It's not the pod, he whispered. It's Luma. The child's energy, something inside her, was awakening, and whatever it wasn't human. The space station trembled as the blue waves rippled through the void. The alarm stopped for a moment, as if even the machines were too stunned to continue. Through the viewing window, a strange light shimmered in the darkness, soft at first, then bright enough to turn the black of space into a glowing ocean. Ethan stood frozen. The pain in his burned arm was forgotten. The scanner screens flickered with impossible readings, radiation levels dropping, oxygen stabilizing, power returning to dead systems. It was as if the station itself was healing. Commander Hasker turned toward him, face pale in the blue glow. What did you do, Cole? Ethan shook his head slowly. That's not me. That's them. The soldiers stared at the monitors. A small blip, the escape pod, drifted in the light. But the light wasn't coming from the engines. It was coming from inside the pod. Luma. She's a child, Ethan whispered. But that energy. Before he could finish, the lights flickered again, and for one brief instant, Ethan saw her face on the screen. Luma, eyes closed, her body surrounded by a halo of blue fire. She looked peaceful, almost asleep. And around her, the stars seemed to bend. Then the signal cut out. The blue light vanished, and the station dropped back into darkness. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the low hum of the engines. Hasker slammed his fist against the console. Track that pod, now! Sir, one soldier said, voice shaking. The scanners can't get a lock. It's like it disappeared. Hasker turned toward Ethan, fury burning in his eyes. What was that? Some Varex weapon? Did you know about this? Ethan met his stare calmly. No weapon does that. That was something else. Something alive. Don't play smart with me, Hasker barked. You've brought alien tech onto a human station. That's treason. But Ethan wasn't listening anymore. He walked to the window, staring into the darkness where the light had vanished. His thoughts raced. The Variks had been known for their advanced bioenergy. Living technology, they called it. But what he saw, that was beyond anything human science could explain. If Luma's body could create energy that pure, energy that healed, not destroyed, then maybe she wasn't just a survivor. Maybe she was something new. Commander, the soldier at the console, said suddenly, "I'm picking up a signal again. It's faint, but it's not from the pod. It's coming from below us, the planet." Hasker frowned. "That planet's dead." "Not anymore, sir," the soldier replied. "I'm detecting energy waves, like same frequency as the one from the child." Ethan's eyes widened. She connected to it. Hasker snapped, "What do you mean?" Ethan turned to face him. She wasn't just escaping. She was calling to something, maybe the planet itself. Ridiculous, is it? Ethan stepped closer. That world was Variks' home territory once. They said it died after the bombardment, but what if it didn't? What if it was sleeping and she just woke it up? Before Hasker could answer, the station shuddered again, harder this time. The walls groaned and the floor vibrated beneath their boots. A deep echoing sound filled the air like a heartbeat coming from the depths of space. "Core instability," shouted one soldier. "Something's pulling us toward the planet." Hasker yelled orders, but nothing worked. Gravity control failed. The engines whined. The massive station began to tilt, slowly descending toward the glowing world below. Ethan grabbed the console. "We're caught in a gravitational pulse. Reverse thrusters?" Hasker commanded. "They're offline." The planet below, once a dull red husk, now shimmered with light, blue veins of energy spreading across its surface like rivers. It looked alive again. Ethan's mind raced. It's her. She's reviving it, the child's energy. It's linked to the planet's core somehow. Hasker's voice turned cold. "Then we'll stop her before she destroys us all." He motioned to the soldiers. "Prepare the plasma cannons. If that pod's near the surface, we'll vaporize it." Ethan stepped in front of him. "You can't do that. She's a child." "She's an alien," Hasker snapped. "A weapon we can't control?" Ethan's voice rose, full of fire now. "You can't control life either, doesn't mean you destroy it." For the first time, Hasker hesitated. The man had always been loyal to orders, but Ethan's words cut deep, because even he could see what was happening. The planet was glowing brighter, and the radiation readings were dropping to safe levels. "She's fixing it," Ethan whispered. "She's healing a dead world." A long silence followed. Then the comm system crackled, a faint voice breaking through the static. Ethan, it was Sira." Ethan rushed to the control. "Sira, can you hear me?" Her voice was weak but clear. "Luma, she's changing. The planet calls her, she listens. Where are you?" "Landing near the surface. The light, it protects us, but humans must not attack. If they do, the core will awaken in pain." Ethan frowned. "Pain?" Sira's voice trembled. "The planet is alive, and it remembers the war." The signal cut out. Ethan turned to Hasker. "You heard her. If you fire on them, that planet could destroy us." Hasker looked torn. "And if she's lying?" "Then I'll go down there myself," Ethan said. "You can keep your cannons aimed, but give me one chance to prove she's right." Hasker stared at him for a long moment. The station groaned again as the pull of the planet grew stronger. Finally, he said through gritted teeth, "Fine, one chance, Cole, but if you fail, I end this myself." Ethan nodded. "That's all I need." He turned toward the docking bay, his injured arm throbbing but his heart steady. He had no armor, no weapons, only belief. Belief that somewhere down there, an alien child was doing what no human could, bringing life back to a dead world. As his shuttle detached and began to descend into the glowing blue clouds, Ethan whispered to himself, "If she can bring a planet back from the dead, maybe she can do the same for us." Far below, the light pulsed again, like a heartbeat, waiting, watching, alive. The shuttle cut through the blue clouds like a falling star. Lightning of pure energy flickered outside, dancing across the windows. Ethan gripped the control stick tight, feeling the turbulence shake the small craft. His heart pounded. Every system screamed at him to turn back, but he didn't, he couldn't. He had to find them, through the thick haze. He caught glimpses of the planet below, mountains glowing with blue veins, rivers of light winding through dark valleys. The world that once looked dead now pulsed with life as if a heartbeat had returned to its core. "Luma," he whispered. "What are you doing down there?" The shuttle jolted suddenly. A bright surge of energy passed across the hull, disabling the thrusters. The controls went dead. The shuttle spun wildly, alarms blaring. Ethan tried to stabilize it, but nothing responded. "Come on, hold together," he shouted. The craft hit the surface hard. Metal groaned. Dust and light exploded around him. Then, silence. Ethan coughed, unstrapping himself from the seat. The shuttle was half buried in glowing sand, smoke curling from its sides. The air outside shimmered, filled with blue mist. He checked the sensors. Oxygen levels were normal. He opened the hatch and stepped out. The ground beneath him felt soft, almost alive, like walking on a breathing creature. Strange plants glowed faintly underfoot, their roots pulsing with light. The air hummed, not from wind, but from energy moving through the soil itself. "This planet isn't just alive," Ethan murmured. "It's awake." He followed the energy flow, guided by faint footprints, small ones leading away from the crash. Lumas. He followed them for miles, across hills of shining crystal, and under skies filled with floating dust that glittered like stars. Then he saw it. A valley opened before him, vast and glowing, like a dream carved from light. In the center stood Sira, holding her daughter. Around them, giant vines moved as if bowing toward the child. "Sira," Ethan called, running forward. She turned, her pale skin glowing in the light. "Ethan, you came." He stopped, catching his breath. "I said I would." His eyes shifted to Luma. The child's eyes glowed brighter than before, deep blue, almost white. Energy radiated from her body in soft waves. "Is she all right?" Sira nodded slowly. "She, not sick anymore. Planet heals her. But she is changing." Ethan knelt beside Luma. "Luma, can you hear me?" The girl looked up, smiling faintly. "Ethan," she whispered. Her voice echoed strangely, like many voices speaking as one. "It's warm now," Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" "The planet was lonely," Luma said softly. "It waited for someone to wake it up." Sira touched Ethan's arm gently. "We, barracks people, born from this world long ago. The planet is our mother, Luma, connected to it." Ethan's eyes widened. "You mean she's linked to the planet's life force?" Sira nodded. "Yes, but it costs her. The more she gives, the weaker she becomes." Ethan's heart tightened. He looked at the child, her small frame trembling slightly, though her smile stayed peaceful. She was saving an entire world, but it was draining her life away. Before he could speak, the ground trembled. The light around them pulsed faster, and the air filled with low, thunder-like vibrations. Sira looked up. "It begins." "What begins?" "The awakening." From the far horizon, mountains began to shift. Massive stone figures, ancient machines buried for centuries, rose from the ground, covered in vines and light. Their eyes glowed the same blue as Luma's. Ethan stepped back in awe. "What are those?" Sira's voice trembled. "The Guardians, the planet's protectors. They rise when life returns, or when danger comes." Ethan's communicator crackled suddenly. Hasker's voice broke through the static. "Cole, do you copy? We're reading massive energy surges from your location. What's happening down there?" Ethan replied quickly. "The planet's alive, Commander. Luma's controlling it somehow, bringing it back to life." "Controlling?" Hasker barked. "Then it's a threat." "We're charging plasma cannons now." Ethan's eyes went wide. "No. If you fire, it'll react. The planet's connected to her emotions. You'll trigger something catastrophic." But the signal cut out. Sira looked terrified. "Humans will attack?" Ethan nodded grimly. "They will if I don't stop them." He turned toward the sky. The station glimmered faintly above the clouds. He could almost imagine Hasker standing there, ready to pull the trigger. "Luma," Ethan said softly, kneeling again. "I need you to listen to me. They're scared. They don't understand what you're doing. Can you protect yourself without hurting them?" Luma tilted her head, eyes glowing brighter. "I can make them sleep. Sleep? Dream. No pain." Before Ethan could ask more, her small hands lifted toward the sky. The ground around them pulsed, sending waves of light upward. The clouds twisted into spirals, Back on the station, Hasker's crew shouted as their weapons systems failed. Monitors flickered, lights dimmed, and everyone froze, trapped in a strange calm. Their eyes glazed as they fell silent, dreaming on their feet. Ethan looked up in disbelief. "You put them in stasis." Luma smiled faintly. "No fighting now." Sierra's eyes filled with tears. "She saves them too." Ethan felt something heavy in his chest, awe, sadness, pride. He looked at the small child who had once been dying in a storage bay. Now she was saving not just her world, but his too. But as the light faded, Luma's knees buckled. She collapsed into her mother's arms, her glow dimming. "Luma!" Ethan rushed to them. "She's burning out." Sierra held her close, tears falling. She gave too much. Ethan looked around desperately. The planet's energy pulsed wildly, unstable without Luma's balance. There has to be a way to help her. Sierra looked up, eyes filled with sorrow. Only one way, connection. Someone must share life with her, but it is dangerous. It can kill human. Ethan didn't hesitate. "Then I'll do it." Sierra shook her head. "You don't understand. Your mind will break." Ethan looked at the faintly glowing child. "I already made my choice the night I saved her. She's family now." He reached out, placing his hand over Luma's. The world went white. A wave of light exploded outward, spreading through the valley up to the mountains, into the stars themselves. For one moment, one beautiful, endless second, Ethan saw everything. He felt Luma's thoughts, the planet's memories, and the pain of both species' wars. He saw humans and Varix not as enemies but as two halves of the same story. Then everything went silent. Sierra screamed his name as the light faded. Ethan's body collapsed beside Luma's, both still and glowing faintly in the blue dust. Above them, the planet's heartbeat slowed and waited. The valley was silent. Only the soft glow of blue dust floated in the air, falling gently over Ethan, Sierra, and Luma. The world had stopped moving. Even the great stone guardians stood still. Their eyes dimmed. Sierra knelt between the two bodies, tears streaking her pale face. Luma lay motionless in her arms, her glow fading like a dying star. Ethan lay beside them, his skin pale but his hand still holding the child's. "Please," Sierra whispered, her voice trembling. "Not both." The planet's energy had gone quiet, as if waiting to see what would happen next. Then from somewhere deep beneath the ground, a soft pulse began. Faint, rhythmic, like the beat of a heart starting again. The light on Luma's skin flickered, then grew brighter. Her tiny fingers twitched. She took a weak breath. Sierra gasped, holding her closer. "Luma." The child opened her eyes slowly. The bright blue had softened to silver, calm and clear. She smiled faintly. "Mama." Sierra's tears turned to joy, but her relief lasted only a moment before she turned to Ethan. He was still. "Ethan." She placed her hand on his chest. No movement. No, please." Luma looked at him silently. Her small hand reached out, glowing faintly. "He gave me life." Sierra looked at her, confused. "Can you help him?" Luma's voice was soft, distant. "He's still here, but lost inside the light." Before Sierra could respond, Luma's eyes brightened again. A wave of blue light spread from her hand into Ethan's body. The ground beneath them shimmered, forming glowing patterns that spread outward like veins of life. Ethan's body jerked, once, then again. His breath returned with a sudden gasp. His eyes opened wide, glowing faintly blue before fading back to human brown. He coughed, gasping for air. What happened?" Sierra laughed through her tears. "You came back." Ethan blinked, confused. "Did it work?" "Is she alive?" Sierra said, smiling through her tears. "You saved her." Luma crawled forward, touching his face gently. "You shared your light," he smiled weakly. "Guess I had a little left to give." But something was different about him. As he sat up, the ground beneath his hand pulsed in response, the same way it did for Luma. The planet recognized him. Sierra noticed it too. "Ethan, you are connected now." He looked at his hand where faint blue lines shimmered under his skin. "Connected? You mean to her?" Sierra shook her head slowly. "To everything." Ethan looked around. The valley had begun to glow again, brighter and stronger. The plants lifted their heads, the guardians opened their eyes. The sky shimmered with soft light. But this time it wasn't wild energy, it was balanced, peaceful. Luma stood up, holding Ethan's hand. "The planet knows you now," she said. It listens to your heart, too. Ethan looked at her, unsure what to say. I'm no leader, Luma. I'm just a man who fixes machines. She smiled. Then fix this broken sky. Before he could ask what she meant, a loud rumble shook the ground. Ethan looked up. The human patrol ship was descending through the clouds. They're coming, he muttered. And Hasker won't wait. Sierra's expression turned grim. He will attack. Ethan stood, his legs weak but steady. Then we have to stop him. He looked at Luma. Can you reach their ship? She nodded slowly. Yes, but they dream now. Still sleeping. Then wake them, Ethan said. But show them what you showed me, the truth. Luma looked unsure. They might be afraid. Ethan knelt, taking her small hand. Then let them be afraid of something beautiful. Luma closed her eyes. Her body glowed again, but this time it wasn't just blue. It was golden too, soft and warm. The light rose upward, streaming into the sky like a river of stars. Above, on the orbiting station, the crew began to stir from their trance. The screens flickered, showing images, not of war, but of what was happening below. They saw Ethan, Sierra, and Luma standing together in a world reborn. They saw forests blooming, oceans returning, and mountains glowing with life. They saw peace, a future that didn't need blood to survive. Commander Hasker stood at the viewing window, his weapons still ready. But as the images filled the screen, his hand trembled. The hatred in his eyes began to fade. What is this? He whispered. The comm crackled. Ethan's voice came through, steady and calm. Commander, look around you. That's what she's fighting for. Not revenge, not power, just life. Hasker said nothing for a long moment. Then slowly he lowered his weapon. Cole, he said quietly, you're breaking every law in the book. Maybe, Ethan replied, but sometimes laws need breaking before they can change. Silence filled the channel. Then Hasker spoke again, his voice softer. What do you want me to do? Stand down. Let her finish what she started. That's all. Hasker hesitated, then nodded. Understood. The ships in orbit powered down their weapons. The planet below glowed brighter, peaceful at last. Ethan turned to Sierra and Luma. It's over, he said, though he barely believed it. Sierra smiled faintly. Maybe it just begins. Luma looked at the sky. The stars are singing again, she whispered. Ethan tilted his head. Singing? She nodded. They call us to build again, together. He smiled tiredly. Then maybe humans and Varix can finally listen to the same song. The three of them stood on the glowing hill as dawn rose. The first dawn that planet had seen in 100 years. The air shimmered with color, blue light mixed with golden sunlight. Ethan took a deep breath and looked at the horizon. Home, he said quietly. Luma's voice was gentle. Yes, Ethan, home. But far above, in the shadow of space, a faint signal blinked. A dark transmission sent from the edge of the galaxy. Someone had seen everything, and not everyone wanted peace. The morning light spread across the new world like a promise. For the first time in a century, the planet breathed freely. Blue rivers flowed again, forests shimmered with light. And the great guardians stood watch in silence. Ethan stood beside Sierra and Luma on the hilltop, feeling the soft wind brush his face. The world felt alive again, peaceful, whole. But peace never lasted long. A faint crackle came from his communicator. A voice cold, mechanical. Unauthorized signal detected. Source human Varix hybrid zone. Prepare for orbital purge, Ethan froze. That's not Hasker's ship. Sierra's expression darkened. Who is it? He looked up. Far above the clouds, a dark silhouette appeared. Huge, sharp-edged, moving fast. The Purifier, he whispered. An old war machine. The fleet must have reactivated it after the war. The Purifier was built for one purpose, to erase planets touched by alien influence. It had no pilot, no mercy, only orders buried deep in code, and now it was coming for them. The sky dimmed as the ship descended, blocking out the sun. Its weapons began to glow red, aiming straight at the surface. Sierra pulled Luma close. If it fires, Ethan finished the thought grimly. Everything we've built dies again. He tapped his comm. Commander Hasker, are you seeing this? Hasker's voice came through, tense and shaken. I see it, Cole. That's an old pre-war AI. I can't override it. It's not listening to any command. Then how do we stop it? Ethan asked. Hasker hesitated. Its core runs on a quantum AI. It only responds to one thing, direct connection. But that'll fry anyone who tries? Ethan looked at Luma. The child's eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the fire in the sky. I can talk to it, she said quietly. Ethan turned sharply. No, you barely survived saving the planet. Luma shook her head, her voice soft but firm. It listens to energy. I am energy. I can show it peace. Sierra grabbed her daughter's shoulders, terrified. No, you gave too much already. Ethan's heart pounded. He looked between them. The mother's fear, the child's calm, the fire above. Then he said quietly, if she can reach it, I'll go with her. Sierra stared. You? I'm linked to her now, Ethan said. The planet connected us. Maybe together we can reach the machine's heart. Sierra's voice broke. You will die. He met her eyes. Then at least it'll mean something. Luma took his hand, her small fingers warm against his burned skin. We'll be fine, Mama, she whispered. The stars will help. Sierra held them both for a long moment, trembling. Come back to me, she whispered. Ethan smiled softly. We'll try. The sky roared. The purifier began charging its main cannon. The air rippled with energy. Ethan and Luma stepped forward, standing in the valley of light. Ready? Ethan asked. Luma nodded. Close your eyes, she lifted her hands. Blue and gold light burst from her palms, wrapping around them both. The world dissolved into brightness. Inside the machine, Ethan opened his eyes and gasped. He stood in a vast digital landscape, endless and shifting. Towers of light stretched into the void. Streams of code flowed like rivers. This is its mind, Luma said softly beside him. A deep voice echoed around them, cold and metallic. Identify. Ethan stepped forward. I'm Ethan Cole, human. Human Varex contamination detected. Elimination required. Luma's light flared brighter. No, we bring peace. The voice hesitated as if confused. Peace. Not recognized, Ethan shouted. Then learn it, look. Images appeared around them. Luma healing the planet, humans standing down, the dawn rising. The AI's code flickered, processing the memories. Contradiction, it said. Humans destroy. Varex corrupt. Peace impossible. Luma floated slightly off the ground, her eyes pure white light. You only saw war. We show you something new. She extended her hand, touching the streams of code. Golden light spread through the system like fire through frost. The digital walls trembled, but the AI resisted. Unknown input. System error. Purge continues. Ethan felt pain burn through his veins. The connection between his human body and the machine was tearing him apart. Luma, he gasped, it's too strong. She turned to him, tears glowing in her eyes. I can't stop it alone. He grabbed her hand. Then let's do it together. Like before. They closed their eyes. Blue and gold energy merged, swirling upward. Their memories, their hopes, their fears, all flowed into the machine's heart. For the first time in its existence, the purifier felt. The machine's voice stuttered. Emotion. Detected. Life, not error. Ethan's voice was faint. No, life is the code you forgot to read. The light exploded outward. The sky returns. On the surface, Sierra shielded her eyes as the sky lit up like a second sun. The purifier froze mid-air, its weapons dimming. Then slowly, it began to disintegrate, breaking apart into millions of glowing fragments that drifted down like falling stars. The blue dust touched the ground, merging with the soil. The planet absorbed the machine's remains, transforming death into life once again. Sierra ran toward the light where Ethan and Luma had vanished. Ethan, Luma! For a moment there was nothing. Then out of the haze, two silhouettes appeared, small, hand in hand. They walked slowly toward her. Ethan's body was bruised, his steps heavy, but he was alive. Luma's glow had faded to a soft silver. She looked tired but peaceful. Sierra fell to her knees, hugging them both tightly. You came back, she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. Told you we'd try. Above them, the sky cleared completely. The stars shimmered brighter than before, calm, watching. Luma looked up. The purifier isn't gone, she said softly. It sleeps now, but it dreams of us, humans and Varex. It will remember. Ethan touched her shoulder gently. Then maybe that's enough. He looked around at the living world, the rivers, the mountains, the soft wind carrying warmth again. We've both broken things, he said quietly. But maybe together we can fix them too. Sierra smiled, her eyes glowing faintly. You already did. They stood there in silence for a long time, watching the sunrise spread across the valley. The war between humans and Varex had ended long ago, but this was the first true peace either side had ever felt. As the light washed over them, Luma whispered, "Ethan?" "Yes? You called us family once. Do you still mean it?" He smiled, pulling her and Sierra close. "Always." And as the sun rose higher, the planet's soft voice echoed through the air, a sound like a lullaby of wind and light. The universe listened. For the first time in history, both species breathed the same air under the same sky, with the same hope. Peace wasn't written in laws or carved in stone. It lived in the hands of a human who cared, and the alien child who taught him what family truly meant.